Have you ever heard of an entire family vanishing without a trace, only for their bodies to be found years later, buried in the desert? This is the shocking case of the McStay family, a disappearance that puzzled investigators for years before the truth revealed a gruesome betrayal fueled by greed. Joseph and Summer McStay were living the American dream, a happy marriage, 2 beautiful sons, and a growing business in Southern California. Then, in February 2010, the entire family disappeared. Their home was left untouched, food was still on the table, and their car was mysteriously abandoned near the U.S Mexico border. For years, theories ran wild. Did they flee to Mexico? Were they targeted by a cartel? Had they staged their own disappearance? It seemed like a mystery that would never be solved until 2013, when a motorcyclist made a horrifying discovery in the Mojave Desert. Buried in 2 shallow graves, the remains of Joseph, Summer, and their 2 young children, Johnny and Joseph Jr., were unearthed. The entire family had been brutally beaten to death with a sledgehammer. The discovery shattered years of speculation and turned the missing persons case into a full-blown homicide investigation. Stick around as we unravel how a family's dream life turned into a nightmare, and how the truth behind their murders exposed a chilling betrayal. Joseph McStay was an entrepreneur with big dreams. At 40 years old, he had built a successful business called Earth-Inspired Products, specializing in high-end decorative water fountains. His work had landed him lucrative contracts with hotels, resorts, and businesses across the country, and his financial future looked bright. His wife, Summer McStay, 43, was a devoted mother to their 2 sons, 4-year-old Gianni and 3-year-old Joseph Jr. Friends described Summer as protective, loving, and fiercely loyal to her family. She had a bold personality and was known for speaking her mind. The McStays had recently moved into a new home in Fallbrook, California, a quiet, family-friendly town in San Diego County. Their future seemed promising, and their loved ones had no reason to believe anything was wrong. Then, on February 4th, 2010, the entire family vanished without a trace. Joseph's brother, Mike McStay, became concerned when he hadn't heard from Joseph for several days. Calls and texts went unanswered, and there was no sign of activity on Joseph's phone or email accounts. Mike went to the McStay family's home, where he found something deeply unsettling. Inside, everything appeared normal. There was no sign of a struggle, no broken windows or forced entry. A bowl of popcorn was left uneaten on the couch, and Summer's prescription sunglasses, something she never left behind, were sitting on the kitchen counter. The family's beloved dogs were still in the backyard, unfed and dehydrated, indicating they had left in a hurry. Then came the strangest clue. The family's SUV was found abandoned near the San Isidro border crossing into Mexico. Investigators pulled security footage from the border and found a grainy video showing a family of 4 walking into Mexico. It led detectives to believe that the McStays had voluntarily left the U.S., but something didn't add up. Friends and family insisted that the McStays wouldn't just run away. They had no ties to Mexico, no financial struggles, and Summer didn't even own a passport. For years, wild theories spread. Did the McStays flee to escape debt? Were they involved in something illegal? Were they hiding from someone? For 3 years, the case went cold, with investigators turning up no solid leads. Then, on November 11, 2013, a motorcyclist riding through the Mojave Desert made a gruesome discovery near Victorville, California. 2 shallow graves. Inside, investigators found the skeletal remains of 4 bodies. Forensic testing confirmed the worst fears. It was the McStay family. All 4 victims had been beaten to death with a sledgehammer, their skulls shattered from repeated blunt force trauma. The brutality of the crime indicated it was personal, not random. This was no cartel hit, no runaway case. This was cold-blooded murder. If this case is as shocking to you as it sounds, take a second to like this video. It really helps the channel out. Investigators turned their focus to Joseph McStay's business dealings, looking for anyone who had a motive to kill him. One name stood out: Charles Chase Merritt, Joseph's former business partner and close friend. Merritt was one of the last people to see Joseph alive. He had been struggling financially and was deep in debt from gambling. Then came the smoking gun. In the days after the McStays disappeared, Merritt had forged checks from Joseph's business account, stealing over $21,000. When questioned, Merritt gave conflicting statements about the last time he saw Joseph. His cell phone records also placed him near the desert burial site on the day investigators believe the murders took place. In 2014, Merritt was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors painted a horrifying picture of what happened the night the McStays were killed. They believe Merritt lured Joseph into a business meeting, bludgeoned him to death, then returned to the McStay home to kill Summer and their 2 small children. Merritt then loaded their bodies into a vehicle, drove them out to the desert, and buried them in a remote, unmarked grave, thinking no one would ever find them. His motive? Greed and desperation. Merritt was stealing money from the company, and he knew Joseph would eventually find out. Instead of paying back his debts, he murdered the man who trusted him most, along with his entire family. The trial was long and emotional. Merritt's defense team argued that there was no DNA evidence directly linking him to the murders, and that investigators had rushed to pin the crime on him. But the circumstantial evidence was overwhelming. In 2019, after a grueling trial, a jury found Charles Chase Merritt guilty of all 4 murders. He was sentenced to death, making him one of the few people still on death row in California. The McStay case remains one of the most heartbreaking family murders in modern history, a crime driven by greed, betrayal, and cold-blooded violence. For years, people believed the McStays had simply vanished into Mexico. The reality was much darker. They were murdered by someone they trusted, buried in the desert like garbage. What do you think? Was Chase Merritt's greed his only motive? Or is there more to the story? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this deep dive compelling, subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories.